RMS Carpathia was a passenger service steamship owned by the Cunard Line. She had a length of 168 meters, 552 feet, and a width of 64 feet midway between bow and stern. She was first constructed in September 1901 and was launched about 1 year later. Carpathia had a sister ship called the Saxonia. They looked very similar, but the only differences were that Saxonia was about 45 to 50 feet longer and was 2 years older. Carpathia had her first voyage in May of 1903 between Liverpool, England and Boston, Massachusetts. One special thing about her is that she rescued the survivors from the RMS Titanic. On April 15, 1912, Carpathia was en route from New York City to somewhere in the Mediterranean. The 21-year-old radio operator, Harold Cottam, was about to shut down and go to bed when suddenly at 12:25 a.m. he heard a distress call from the Titanic. The SOS said, "Come at once. We have struck ice. Sinking. Position is 41 degrees 4,332 north, 49 degrees 5,649 west." Harold quickly wrote it down and ran to the officer, Mr. Dean, on the bridge.
Mr. Dean! Sir! There's a distress call just come through.
Who from?
The Titanic. They've struck a berg.
Is the leg postmaster?
No, they've struck a berg. They want us to come at once. They're sinking.
The Titanic? Don't be a fool.
It's true! I'm going to the captain.
There's nothing inside. Take over.
They rushed into Captain Arthur Rostron's room.
Sir! Sir!
What the devil's going? Haven't you learned to knock before you come in here?
It's a distress call, sir, from the Titanic. She's sinking.
I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Dean, turn the ship round. Head northwest. I'll work the course out for you in a minute. Aye, sir. Now, Cottam. You're sure this is the Titanic?
Yes, sir.
Certain.
Absolutely.
All right, check back. Find out everything you can. Tell them we're coming as fast as possible.
Yes, sir.
Carpathia was 58 to 63 miles from Titanic and only had a speed of 14 knots, 16 miles per hour. The firemen shoveled much coal as they could into the boilers. The crew also asked some of the passengers to stop using the hot water until they reached Titanic in order for the boilers and engines to make much steam as possible. Carpathia had finally reached a speed of 17 knots, 19 miles per hour, and finally reached the position in the ice field at 4 a.m., about an hour and 40 minutes after Titanic went down with 1,500 lives. As Carpathia pulled up, she took on board 705 survivors from Titanic's 20 lifeboats. The survivors were given sleeping bags, blankets, coffee, and breakfast. Carpathia's passengers tried to help in any way that they could and also offered them breakfast. Between 8:30 and 9 a.m., all survivors were picked up and Carpathia set sail back toward New York City just as the Leland liner SS Californian steams up to the disaster site. Carpathia arrived in New York on April 18. After the arrival, Carpathia and her crew were awarded with a $200,000 trophy, given by Titanic survivor Margaret Brown. Unfortunately, in World War I, it didn't go so good for Carpathia. She had been put into convoy service and carrying troops and weapons across the Atlantic. She herself was sunk on July 17, 1918, after being torpedoed by the German U-boat U-55, about 70 miles off the coast of Ireland. In 2000, sea hunters had found her wreck at a depth of 162 meters, 530 feet of water.